Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Hello, Orochimaru. Naruto greeted the Sannin flatly. Orochimaru shook himself out of his daze, seeming stunned at being cast aside so easily by a genin. He looked at Naruto with rage contorting his face. He walked slowly towards Naruto, trying to assess him. You are no genin, Uzumaki Naruto. To know the Fujihoin, to defeat my summons so easily and not to mention stopping my kick so casually. You have much power. Why not join me? Naruto's forest green eyes met Orochimaru's snake-like ones. Thank you for the offer, Orochimaru. But no, I am content here. You, however, attacked my comrade and nearly killed him. So, Naruto appeared in front of Orochimaru and kicked him with tremendous force, sending the Sannin hurtling back into the forest for about a mile, crashing through the trees and foliage. Sakura stared at Naruto disbelievingly, finally out of her mental paralysis. Defeating Zabuza easily was nothing, but matching a Sannin just as easily. Naruto started to leak Mokutan chakra, a faint silver shroud around his body. He turned to Sakura. Sakura, take Sasuke and get up onto the highest tree here. This fight will be harmful to you if you stay at ground level. Sasuke will wake up any moment now. Sakura couldn't move. This was getting too much for her. I can sense Orochimaru returning, Sakura. Move now. Shaken out of her daze, Sakura went on to follow Naruto's instructions and took Sasuke to the highest tree in the vicinity. It was far enough from Naruto that she would be safe from collateral damage, but still near enough to keep him in view. Naruto waited patiently for Orochimaru to show himself. So strong, Orochimaru said, appearing in front of Naruto. The Kusa Kunoichi's face was peeling to reveal his true one. He ripped it off entirely and stood before Naruto as the Snake Sannin. Tell me, Naruto-kun, how is it you have the Shodai Hokage's chakra? Its potency puts even my chakra to shame. Naruto looked at Orochimaru in amusement. It was too much to hope that my kick put you down, wasn't it? You were Hiruzen's prized student after all. Naruto pondered, sampling Orochimaru's chakra deeply. You defiled the grave of the Shodai, didn't you, Orochimaru, you filthy traitor? You took his cells unto yourself thinking to match his strength. Pieces of the forest floor were rising around Orochimaru in the wake of his anger. The Snake Sannin hid his rage well, but Naruto could taste it in the chakra he emanated. You forgot something, Orochimaru. The first true strength was the will of fire. His power was only a tool and not who he was. You wouldn't understand, would you, you slimy traitor? Naruto was letting his cynical side show now, seeing that his words were getting to Orochimaru. A loathsome scowl marred Orochimaru's face. I will obliterate you, Uzumaki Naruto. You have thwarted me for the last time. Naruto smirked, seeing the sheer strength of Orochimaru. Hiruzen at least taught the shinobi arts well to his students. Come, invited Naruto, beckoning Orochimaru. Sakura stared as Naruto goaded Orochimaru. She was so absorbed in the fight unfolding beneath her refuge that she failed to notice Sasuke stirring. Was Naruto so confident in his own strength? Irritating Orochimaru was a sure way to achieve a painful death. He was described as a man with immense power and a huge arsenal of jutsu, who challenged the Yondaime for the post of Hokage. A veteran of the Third War and trained personally by the Sandaime, Orochimaru was feared by all but the Kage and the other S-class shinobi. That was the man Naruto was challenging so casually. Yet looking at his almost excited face, Sakura believed that he could hold his own. That thought sent shivers up her spine. Oh! Came Sasuke's groan. He sat up groggily, staring blankly at Sakura. Orochimaru. He stood up immediately, looking around for the Sannin. Sasuke-kun! Exclaimed Sakura, glad that he was awake. Where's Naruto? questioned Sasuke urgently. However strong Naruto was, he would never be able to stand up to Orochimaru. Sakura got an odd look on her face and pointed at a spot below them. Sasuke walked to the edge of the massive branch. What he saw would redefine his conception of Naruto forever. The boy he had so callously written of Dobe stood opposite Orochimaru calmly, silver chakra leaking off him faintly, on the verge of combat. The ground around the two of them was cracking up under the pressure of the chakra being released, and that awed him. He was no censor, and he could still feel the enormity of their power as high up as he was. If he got close, he imagined he would faint from the overload. He felt no jealousy towards Naruto. Instead, he just felt awe, pride, and overpowering concern for the safety of his teammate. Together, he and Sakura watched closely as Naruto and Orochimaru finished gathering their chakras. Come! Orochimaru shot towards Naruto with blinding speed, going directly at his vital points. Naruto blocked calmly, and countered with his own strike, which was also blocked. The two opponents glanced at each other and acted simultaneously, beginning their battle in earnest. The lethal snake taijutsu of Orochimaru was matched strike for strike by the nature fist of the Yondaime Hokage. Everywhere they met, gusts of wind blew off and the ground exploded. Naruto was drawing strength from the abundant nature chakra pervading the forest and kept on increasing the power of his strikes. His blows were getting heavier and heavier. Orochimaru could hardly believe he was fighting a genin. The strength of his blows was unbelievable. Naruto was enjoying himself thoroughly. The Sannin was truly a snake through and through. He spoke like one, acted like one, and certainly was as lethal as one. Naruto dodged one of Orochimaru's kicks and it impacted the tree behind him, barreling through its trunk and cutting into half. Naruto grinned. Orochimaru was very strong, strong enough that he would challenge him considerably at his current chakra capacity. Of course, if the Sannin had fought Senju Hashirama at full strength, he would be crushed in an instant. He appeared in front of Orochimaru and aimed a kick saturated with his chakra at his head. Orochimaru blocked it, but was blown back through another mile of trees at the sheer strength of the blow. The Sannin looked livid when he confronted Naruto again, looking worse for the wear. Senai Jashu. Massive snakes shot out from Orochimaru's hands and flew directly at Naruto's throat. Naruto held out his hands in the serpent seal. Doton. Chikyu no Agama. Two massive scythes of earth rose on either side of the approaching serpents and fell, skewering them into halves. Orochimaru was already going through a sequence of hand seals. Naruto could feel a massive amount of Futon chakra gathering. Futon de Tapa. A massive blast of air ripped towards Naruto, destroying trees and ground alike. Doton. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Naruto went underground and appeared behind Orochimaru with a shower of earth. The Sannin reacted instantly, forming seals rapidly. Naruto did not need a sequence of hand seals, though. He needed just one. Doton. Haritsuke no Supeiku. An extremely sharp spike of earth blasted from the earth near Naruto's feet and sunk into Orochimaru's chest. Its impact was so great that Orochimaru was sent flying back and the sharp end of the spike sticking out of his back crashed into a tree, effectively nailing the Sannin. Orochimaru opened his mouth, spitting himself out, shedding his skin like the snake he was. He looked at Naruto with a lopsided grin. It's been fun, Naruto-kun, but I cannot play any longer. You are too strong to be left alive. Naruto faced Orochimaru impassively, feeling the massive spike in the Sannin's chakra. It was of no element, but it felt somewhat ethereal. Yes, that was the best word. Mandara no Jin. Orochimaru's mouth opened disgustingly wide and out came a multitude of snakes. Thousands upon thousands of the white reptiles rushed rapidly towards Naruto, piling up to 30 feet and spanning a great width. Naruto was staring, amazed at the magnificence of the jutsu. He had never seen its like even as Hashirama. Out of the mouth of every one of the tens of thousands of snakes rushing towards him came out a sword he recognized well. The sword of Kusanagi, dripping with poison. This was a very powerful technique, and he could not counter it with Doton or Suiton. The thousands of Kusanagi would just rip through. He could not reveal Mokuton yet, though he could easily stop the snakes with that, Kusanagi or not. Which left? The air around Naruto turned blinding silver for half a mile in all directions, chakra pouring out of every one of his tenketsu in a torrent. He raised his palms, routing all his chakra into them. Orochimaru looked stunned by the magnitude of the chakra Naruto was releasing. The multitude of snakes was almost upon him, the heap growing all the time. Naruto breathed deeply and slammed his glowing palms into the ground. A massive semicircular shockwave erupted from Naruto's position, blowing each and every one of the snakes to pieces. The forest was destroyed as utterly as Orochimaru's 10,000 shockwave reached the Sannin and hurled him far away for the third time. Naruto looked around at the devastation he had caused sadly, never liking to see the destruction of trees, let alone those created by himself. He immersed himself in his senses and sighed in relief as he felt Orochimaru fleeing rapidly towards the east boundary of the forest. That battle had pushed him a little. He sensed Sasuke and Sakura tremulously approaching him from behind. "You can come out now, Sakura and Sasuke." The duo slowly walked towards him, not believing the sheer destruction unleashed during the battle. They had never seen a fight like that before and never understood the meaning of a Kage-level fight as they did now. "You are so powerful, Naruto. You actually drove Orochimaru back," Sakura said in absolute wonderment. "Good fight," Dobe Sasuke said, unable to think up any more praise for his rival. How stupid, he thought to himself. Naruto was too far ahead of him to be considered his rival. Gahaha. Naruto laughed happily. "Thanks, team. Did you actually compliment me?" "Hn, I think I did. Don't get too used to it though," Sasuke said, smirking. Naruto was his rival, alright, no matter how powerful he got. Sakura just smiled at her teammates. "I have one last thing to do," Naruto said, sensing all around them for around 5 miles. No one. He assumed all teams were driven away by the scale of his and Orochimaru's fight. All teams had something resembling a sensor on their team, after all. They would have certainly given wide berth to a Kage-level fight. That suited him just fine. He looked at the devastation caused by his final attack and the absence of trees, and gathered his chakra. Mokuto ni jutsu, mori no taito. The massive semicircular area of the forest that was divested of trees for at least a mile rumbled. Small saplings rose up everywhere in the huge barren area slowly, and with a great rush shot up to become massive trees that repopulate the empty area. Sasuke and Sakura looked open-mouthed at their teammate who had just created about a square mile of forest. Naruto just kept stunning them regularly. Naruto looked at them amusedly. "We need to leave the area now. I can sense multiple chakras approaching us and Sasuke still needs my healing." They nodded and shot off as one. Yujito, Samui, and Omoi had just finished off a team of Kiri, and were collecting their Earth Scroll. The nearby Jinchuriki felt an explosion of extremely dense chakra a good distance to their west. Felt familiar. There was also another very strong chakra that felt just evil. Naruto and someone who was no genin were engaged in combat. The ground shook violently for a few moments and then stopped. What was her fellow Jinchuriki doing? To feel the tremors of his jutsu this far. That should be a very powerful technique. Omoi and Samui were prodding her quizzically. "Yujito, could you sense whoever caused that tremor?" "Yes. That was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Naruto. The chakra did not feel like any element, though." So he used the Kyuubi's chakra? No, it was his own. Not cool. Not many people have the capacity or control to do such a thing with just pure chakra. Omoy in the meantime was into his own apocalyptic thoughts and was being ignored by the blondes. Kitten, that boy is no genin. Be wary of him, very wary. He seems to exude a chakra that can calm or even suppress me if need be. Yujito gave a mental nod to her bijou. Suddenly she felt a release of unfamiliar chakra from Naruto. Felt like life? What chakra could actually create life? She was suddenly pulled into her mindscape by the nearby. She stood in a lush grass plain, confronting the Hellcat. What? Yujito, Naruto either has the Mokuton or the Rinnegan. What? There is no other explanation. That is how he suppressed Kurama so well, and seems to have the power to suppress me. Only two known techniques can create life. One is the Mokuton and the other is a Rinnegan technique called Banbutsu Sozo, the creation of all things. Both possibilities are extremely disturbing. Yujito was extremely stunned. Naruto most probably had one of two mythical bloodlines. The Rinnegan was the Rikadu Sennin's Jujutsu. The power he wielded with those eyes was said to be unfathomable, beyond human comprehension. The Mokuton was documented a little more. Senju Hashirama's strength with that bloodline was so great that he was compared to the Rikadu Sennin sometimes. Taming 9 bijou like it was nothing? Both possibilities were extremely frightening for the elemental countries. A second coming of either of the two legendary figures would tip the scales. No, completely destroy the scales. Asama had to be informed immediately. She turned to Omoy and Samui. We need to get to the tower at the earliest. No wasting time. I have something extremely important to convey to Reikage-sama. Her teammates seemed to recognize her seriousness and nodded. Gathering their chakra, they shot off rapidly towards the tower. Naruto had just finished patching up Sasuke. The trio had taken shelter in a clearing some distance from the previous fight. Sasuke could not believe that Naruto was so skilled a medic. How many talents did the blonde have? He felt so much better now. Naruto sighed in satisfaction as he sensed Sasuke's chakra flowing calmly with no fluctuation. His teammate was as good as new. What is that seal you used on Sasuke-kun, Naruto? Naruto pondered for a moment. It is called an evil suppression seal. It is an advanced seal that can contain malicious influences. That is, until the users will holds. So Sasuke team, you must never give in to the instincts that may be spawned in you by Orochimaru's seal. Understand? Sasuke nodded briefly. Sakura glanced at Naruto. We still have need for an Earth Scroll, don't we? We cannot complete the exam without the Earth Scroll. Naruto grinned. We don't have to worry about that, Sakura-chan. It seems we have company, he said, sensing the approach of the sound ninja. The foliage parted to reveal 3 figures sporting the Odo headband. The bandaged ninja of the team came to stand in front of Naruto. We are here for Uchiha Sasuke. Leave him to us and your lives will be spared. We will even give you our Earth Scroll. Naruto looked amused, as did Sasuke. Sorry, no deal. Leave us your Earth Scroll, and maybe we will spare you, said Naruto. The one next to the bandaged Nin yelled, Dosu, let us just kill these brats and get it over with. Di Zazuke. Zankuha. A funnel of air rippled from his arm and shot towards Sasuke, who disappeared. Naruto stared, intrigued. It seemed Sasuke's skill with the Shunshin had improved drastically. The team certainly knew how to use that Sharingan of his. The trigger-happy sound shinobi now laid face first in the dirt, Sasuke standing over him. Dosu shook his head. Zaku, you should have waited. Kin, take the pink-haired girl. I will take the blonde. Zaku, do not underestimate the Uchiha. Naruto was getting tired of these games. He just wanted to get the Earth Scroll and discuss the Orochimaru issue with Sarutobi. He needed to knock these children out fast. Sasuke, Sakura, stand back. Sasuke, you are still not rested fully. Sakura, you would take too much time to defeat that girl. Leave it to me. Not waiting for their responses, he just appeared in front of Zaku and knocked him out with a strong palm to the chest, sending him flying. Before the girl could react, she was incapacitated by a chop to her neck's vital point. Sasuke and Sakura no longer looked stunned, having expected something like this from the blonde. No need for powerful jutsu when simple techniques can do the job easily. Naruto went to the one called Dosu and searched him for an earth scroll. They were in luck. Grabbing the scroll of earth, Team 7 headed straight towards the tower. The tower in the forest of the dead. Naruto knocked on the Hokage's room absently. They had reached the tower with no problems, unless one took into account the genjutsu used to misdirect the participants. Sasuke had seen through that one easily with his Sharingan. They had then opened both their scrolls, causing Iruka to appear and congratulate them on their victory. Naruto had then sent through Iruka a missive to Hiruzen regarding his fight with Orochimaru. He was asked to attend a meeting of the Jounin immediately. Sasuke and Sakura went to rest before the next round occurred. Thus he entered the Hokage's office, noting the multiple Jounin present. Come in, Naruto, and stop trying to peep at Kurenai's posterior Jiraiya. Naruto turned to see a tall and well-built white-haired man straighten quickly from his stealthy position behind the beautiful Kurenai. Sorry. He giggled perversely, his eyes round from what had obviously been an excellent peek. Naruto stared at the man with interest. His godfather by all accounts. He had no idea that the Gamasenin was a pervert on this scale. The Toad Sage had taught Minato, his father. That practically made him family. We have gathered to listen to Naruto's disturbing account of his encounter in the Chunin exam's second round. Tell us, Naruto. Naruto nodded, surveying all the Jounin present. Anko, Asuma, Kurenai, his sensei Kakashi, Genma, Aoba, Heiei, and some others he did not know. They were all either elite Jounin or undercover ANBU, all of them with strong chakra and exceptional records. He could proceed with his briefing without fear of a leak, as he felt no questionable emotions from the powerful ninja in the room. We were following the river in the forest so we could encounter some team and grab their scroll. We encountered no one and I got suspicious. Anyway, I went to gather food when I sensed that Sasuke and Sakura were in distress. I rushed back and saw a snake-like man finish biting Sasuke. Jiraiya scowled. It was Orochimaru, wasn't it? Yes. The room erupted. The Jounin were all clamoring at the fact that mere genin had to face an S-class criminal. Only Kakashi and the third looked cool. Naruto would never lose to somebody like Orochimaru. Jiraiya looked at all their reactions interestedly, noting the calm of Kakashi and the third. Those two knew something. Quiet! The Sandaime roared, causing the Jounin to calm down, though they all looked agitated still. Thank you. Now Naruto, proceed with your story. Naruto nodded. I healed Sasuke and saw the seal on his neck. What is it with that seal, by the way? Enko stepped forward. Is Uchiha Sasuke dead? It is very rare that someone who receives that seal survives. Naruto looked amused. No, he isn't, crazy snake lady. I was getting to that. You have that seal as well, don't you? I can feel its evil in your neck. Anko nodded in a subdued manner. The third cleared his throat, causing attention to center on Naruto again. As I was saying, I saw Sasuke writhing in pain from that seal, and I suppressed it with my own seal. The third hardly looked surprised. The Jounin were still whispering at the revelation of Naruto's prowess, while Jiraiya looked interested. Which seal did you use, Gaki? He asked. Figures. It made sense that the son of the Red Death and his beloved pupil Minato would be this strong. He already felt proud of the young boy he thought of as a grandson, even though he did not let it show. The evil suppression seal. It is only a makeshift solution, though, and will only last as long as Sasuke's will to fight does. Anyway, Orochimaru was incensed by my actions and we fought. After a good taijutsu battle, we fought with ninjutsu. I literally nailed him with an earth spike, after which he got angry. Everyone wore disbelieving faces. A genin keeping up with Orochimaru? He spat out about 10,000 of white snakes at me. Oh, and he had the Kusanagi no Tsurugi. Each and every snake had Kusanagi jutting out of its mouth, aimed at me. Jiraiya interrupted. That was Orochimaru's Mandara no Jin. When he used it on me, there were about 1,000,000 of those things. What did you do? Naruto looked annoyed by all these interruptions. I was getting to that, Ero Sennin. Jiraiya looked indignant. Do not bastardize my sacred name, Gaki. Asuma looked a little irritated. If you don't mind, Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya looked sheepish. Right. Thank you. Now, with those snakes piling up on me, I had no choice but to blow them to pieces. I assume you all felt the tremor. The Jounin all nodded, wide-eyed. How? Asked Jiraiya, intrigued and hiding his amazement well. His former teammate must be losing his touch. I have enormous chakra, and my control is good. I can release a concentrated explosion of my chakra if necessary, causing great damage. Just like Tsunade, muttered an amazed Jiraiya. Naruto himself was proud of his granddaughter. Apparently, the mischievous little girl had taken after him at least a bit. Then Orochimaru left. I think he was surprised more than anything. He came to test us more than anything, I think, and did not expect me to be so strong. We need to be cautious. Why was Orochimaru here of all places? He directed the question to Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked at Hiruzen, who nodded. He faced the Jounin and said in his resonant voice, he is after Uchiha Sasuke's Sharingan. He had this mad delusion of learning all of the jutsu in the world, and thinks Sharingan will accelerate his plans. The third side, he never understood Orochimaru, even as a little boy. He was too alien. The Sandaime cleared his throat again. Orochimaru has something bigger going on. Jiraiya has brought me word of my errant former students' frequent visits to Suna. That and the fact that Suna has sent their clearly unstable Jinchuriki to Konoha lead me to believe that Konoha might not be safe in the next few months. The Sandaime looked at Naruto. We have determined that Kabuto Yakushi is a spy for Orochimaru, his right hand even. He is quite strong. To keep track of him, we will need you to track and spy on him, Naruto. But the exams. Your actions in the Forest of Death lead me to believe that you are already Chunin material. I hope all of you agree, Hiruzen asked, looking around at the Jounin. They nodded as one. Any genin who stopped Orochimaru and brought his teammates back alive was a worthy Chunin. No doubt about that. Then it is decided. Naruto, henceforth you are a Chunin and will undertake your mission immediately. The rest of you watch out for your genin. And Naruto, you will have to forfeit in the coming round as you are already a Chunin. They all nodded. Naruto and Jiraiya, please stay. The rest of you can continue. Naruto looked at Hiruzen. That was a good thing you did, Hiruzen. I would hate to be matched up against the children. It would be fairer to put them against Erosen in here. Jiraiya looked intrigued and irritated. Are you saying you are stronger than me? You may have fought the Hibi team to a stalemate, Gaki, but I am not called the strongest Sannin for nothing. The third looked at Jiraiya. Naruto here is extremely strong for a reason, Jiraiya. He will not tell you without the proper precaution. And I will not tell you right now, Erosenin. You must wait for Kushina-san to return and I will tell the two of you together. Jiraiya nodded reluctantly. You have the right to your secrets after being independent for so long, Naruto. I won't press you when I have no right. Naruto nodded gratefully. Thank you. And I hold no resentment for you, Erosenin. The old man told me of the circumstances. I look forward to knowing you. Jiraiya looked emotional. Me too, Naruto, me too. The Sandaime looked at them both. Let us discuss the espionage of Kabuto, you two. They nodded and began. The preliminaries. Are there any who wish to forfeit the exams by leaving at this stage? Kabuto came forward. I, Yakushi Kabuto, wish to quit these exams, as I have little chakra at the moment and am liable to make a mistake. Granted, you may leave, Kabuto. Kabuto nodded and walked out of the arena leisurely. Is there anyone else? I, Uzumaki Naruto, wish to quit. Personal reasons. The Sandaime nodded with a hint of a grin. You may leave, Naruto. Sasuke looked pissed, as did Sakura. They still did not like Naruto quitting. He had not told them why, except that the Hokage had requested it. Waving to his outraged teammates and stunned fellow rookies, Naruto began his mission of investigating Kabuto. Greetings, Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru appeared out of thin air in front of Kabuto. Hello, Kabuto. Your information seems inaccurate, with leashed anger. What do you mean, Orochimaru-sama? Your useless cards. They told me Uzumaki Naruto was nothing but a dead last. Imagine my surprise when said dead last nullified my cursed seal, matched my taijutsu, wounded me, and above all, destroyed Mandara no Jin. Kabuto was open-mouthed with surprise, and sweating as Orochimaru's massive killing intent filled the air. I had no idea, Orochimaru-sama. You can't have been serious while fighting a genin. Orochimaru's killing intent receded, the snake Sannin calming down considerably. True indeed, but I could tell that he was holding back too, and I don't know by how much. I don't like the direction the invasion is going. We may need more reinforcements and I will change our plans. Kabuto nodded. How is the Ito Tensei coming along, Orochimaru-sama? Orochimaru looked slightly frustrated. The same Hashirama cannot be resurrected, I have no idea why. But I have a backup, Kabuto. Sensei won't know what hit him. Don't fail me again, Kabuto. I don't like unknowns. Kabuto nodded. Go now. I have a grave to rob. Naruto opened his eyes, having heard everything through his concealed wood clone. So, Orochimaru was indeed planning an invasion of Konoha and planned to assassinate Hiruzen. What really surprised him was the Sannin's audacity. Orochimaru actually used Tobirama's jutsu to resurrect Hashirama, in other words, himself? The idiot, he had no idea of the ramifications of that technique. Of course, Edo Tensei would not work. The aspect of his soul as Hashirama had left the pure world. He could resurrect Tobirama, though. This could not be allowed, the dead were meant to be left in peace. He would hate to see Tobirama as a puppet of some upstart. This needed further consideration. Anyway, he had to go see what had happened in the preliminaries and then report to Hiruzen. It was Jiraiya's turn to watch Kabuto anyway. 10 days later, Naruto watched as Sasuke was being trained by Kakashi to up his speed. The young Uchiha had certainly taken well to the art of using Shunshin and had gained the second tomo of his Sharingan during the fight with Orochimaru. Sasuke's proficiency with Shunshin was growing at unprecedented levels, and he was using it quite creatively. He had apparently made quite the impression back at the preliminaries, moving so fast that his opponent could hardly see him, let alone touch him. Sasuke had apparently defeated him with speed and genjutsu alone, not laying a single hand on his opponent. Sasuke was being called the second coming of the other great prodigy of the Uchiha, Shunshin no Shursui. The disadvantage with Shunshin was that one could not unleash ninjutsu instantaneously after using it, as the regathering of chakra took time. He himself had only eliminated that problem partly. Sakura had tied with Ino, leading to both of them getting eliminated. Shikamaru had beaten his opponent, as had Shino. Chuji was eliminated along with Kiba. Intriguingly, the sound ninja he had beaten in the forest were nowhere to be seen. Jiraiya came to stand alongside him. Hey, Gaki, how are you doing? I finished my training just now, Erosenin. I am watching Sasuke do his. Is your shift already over? Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, it is Hayate's turn to watch him now. Naruto nodded. Any particular reason you are here? Yes, Naruto. Sensei told me to tell you, Kushina arrived 1 day ahead of schedule for some reason. She should in Sensei's office by now. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. His mother was here now. His face must have showed his agitation, for Jiraiya consoled him. She is your mother after all, Gaki. Just be yourself. Sensei has summoned me, Kakashi, you and Kushina for a meeting. Let me go get Kakashi and we will all go together. Naruto nodded mutely, unable to calm himself. Even all his years as Hashirama did not prepare him for something like this. He watched as Jiraiya spoke to Kakashi. Sasuke had left for his home. His father's teacher and student approached him and laid a hand on his shoulder each. You will be fine, Naruto, said Kakashi compassionately. They set off towards a meeting that was long overdue. Mother and son would be reunited at last. Kabuto had sensed the Jounin who was tailing him for some time. How long had Konoha kept tabs on him? He had to eliminate this threat to the plan immediately. He set off towards an alley, in the direction of the Tsunejounin, Baki. The man tailing him was obviously not very good at it. He was clumsy and gave away too many openings. Kill him, or just feed him false information. Kabuto weighed both choices in his mind, and decided. It had to be done for the plan to succeed. Readying his chakra scalpels discreetly, he set off again. Konoha would be ashes come the finals. The Hokage's office. Naruto stood in front of the Hokage's office, Jiraiya and Kakashi standing tall beside him. He knocked with trepidation. The door opened slowly, and Naruto entered. Standing next to Hiruzen was a fairly tall woman with long red hair that reached down to her waist. She wore the traditional ANBU uniform, with 2 katanas strapped to her back in an X. He drank in the sight of his mother, who had returned to him after all these years like a parched man drank water. A sensing of her chakra set off a feeling of pride in him. She was very strong, with a powerful fire affinity and a stunning affinity to water. The emotions he felt from her were strong, so strong that it amplified his own, bringing unbidden tears to his eyes. Regret deeper than the deepest ocean, guilt raging like fire, and above all pride in him. A lone tear rolled down his cheek. Dimly, he noticed Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Hiruzen smile brightly at the sight before vanishing to presumably give them privacy. Kushina too seemed stunned with the Naruto she was now seeing. The last report she had gotten from her ANBU contacts had shown her son to be a little shrimp who was basically a loser. Not this young man, too tall for a 13-year-old genin. With his shoulder-length blonde hair and well-toned body, he could well be Minato in his youth. She stopped examining him and stared at his face. The face of the son she had essentially abandoned for his safety. The first thing that struck her was his eyes. Her son had innocent blue eyes that were sad and hopeful at the same time. Not forest green eyes that gave off the wisdom of a lifetime and shone with power unrestrained. The eyes were the windows to the soul. And the boy she was seeing through his eyes was no Genin, Chunin, Jounin, or even a Kage. He seemed to be more, much more, an incarnation of mercy and hope, forgiveness and compassion. She could stand the silence no longer. Naruto? Naruto nodded tremulously. All his certainty as Hashirama left him standing as a little boy who ached for his mother. He saw her approach him as if it were a dream. She slowly came to him and caressed his face with trembling hands. I am sorry, Naruto. So sorry for all the pain you must have felt without me to love you. I only left for your safety. Kushina was now openly crying, her face showing her extreme anguish and self-loathing. Naruto too was shedding tears at this long-awaited moment finally arriving. It is all right, Ka-san. Kushina flung herself at Naruto, hugging him tightly. The 2 remaining Namikes were together again, the loss of their separation and love, and hope at their reunion flowing through their veins like cleansing fire. Naruto smiled to himself softly, hugging Kushina tightly to himself. It would be all right. Naruto had, with some assistance from Kakashi and Hiruzen, told his mother of his life after she left him. How he was thrown out of the orphanage and had fended for himself at the age of 6 in the cold streets and beaten almost to death regularly. How he was given an apartment for himself and lived there alone, loveless and scorned by all. His academy years. Now it was time for the final secret, his true identity. He looked at Jiraiya and Kushina, assessing them. Kushina was not raging, as Naruto had expected her to be. She had an expression of uttermost self-loathing upon her face as she visualized the sufferings her child had gone through. The village should burn in hell for its ignorance. No mother should ever have to leave her child to suffer like this. Minato, he had faith in Konoha. Like the trusting idealist he was, he had turned her little bundle of joy into a Jinchuriki, knowing full well the hatred it brought. She still loved him, though. How could she hate him when she, still alive, had left her son to suffer? That would make her a hypocrite. Naruto looked at her almost as if he had read her mind. Do not hate the village for my suffering, Ka-san. It was born of ignorance, and I pity them for it. Jiraiya looked at him in amazement, Kakashi and Hiruzen in pride. Kushina was incredulous. How can you not hate them, Sochi? Naruto turned to Hiruzen. Hiruzen, it is time. Kushina looked quizzically at Kakashi. Naruto walked to Mito's seal again and activated it again. Jiraiya and Kushina looked on stunned. What was that seal? Kushina asked her son, awed by the chakra he had emanated. Naruto explained the seal to her and Jiraiya, causing them to sit in wonder of Mito's prowess. Kakashi and Hiruzen just looked on in anticipation. Ka-san, Ero-senin, it is time for me to reveal my secret to you. You are both seal masters and can understand better than most. Kushina and Jiraiya listened attentively. The sealing of the Kyuubi changed me, Ka-san. It awoke in me something that should be impossible. Here he lifted up his black shirt, showing the room the changed dead demon seal on his stomach. Kushina and Jiraiya looked at the seal with curiosity. The two had a look of slight comprehension upon their faces. It awoke in you a new personality, did it not, Sochi? I can deduce that much from the change in the seal. Naruto nodded appreciatively. It caused me to remember my previous life in this world and become both my old self and current one at the same time. Kushina looked distressed. As parents, they had not done right by their son. He had to undergo too many things that should not be experienced by any child. Do not be distressed, Ka-san. It is my old life that led me to become what I am now, to find peace. Kushina and Jiraiya looked at Naruto with anxiety. This could very well be harmful and was extremely unexpected. Naruto clasped his hands in the ram seal, flaring his chakra. Is that nature chakra? Jiraiya asked in amazement. Only in major part, replied Naruto. His chakra always had a high concentration of nature chakra mixed in it. They had called it Mokutan chakra. Kushina was amazed and at her son's chakra. He was unleashing enormous amounts and didn't even breathe hard. She watched as he molded chakra. Mokutan, Budo no Hiragari. Impossibly, vines started spreading and flowers bloomed upon them, covering the space of the entire office. Hiruzen looked stunned at seeing his sensei use Mokutan again. Kakashi looked awed. He would never get over Hashirama-sama using Mokutan in front of him. Naruto looked at Kushina and Jiraiya, who looked at the spectacle in amazement. He felt a sense of déjà vu, having done this to Kakashi before. I was and am Senju Hashirama, the Shodai Hokage of Konohagakure. Jiraiya just stood there, frozen. Kushina was staring at her son, her mouth opening and closing with no words coming out. Jiraiya was the first to react. Of all the lives you had to live before this one, it had to be him. This is great. he said enthusiastically with a thumbs-up sign. Naruto grinned at the man's response. Jiraiya reminded him of how he used to be as Hashirama. How he still was, to a large extent. He and his godfather would reconcile just fine. Because of my study of seals, I know you are still my son, Naruto. The unexpected keeps happening to the Namake's family. Having the reborn Hashirama as a son, Minato would be so proud. I am too. So proud, Kushina said wonderingly, still unable to believe. She shook her head, still trying to accept Naruto and Hashirama being one. Her little boy was the rebirth of the most revered ninja since the Sage of the Six Paths. Naruto sent a sly glance towards Kakashi. You reacted better than Kakashi-sensei, Ka-san and Ero-senin. He only fainted. Kakashi managed to look indignant even with his mask on. Jiraiya and Kushina were snorting with laughter, imagining Sharingan no Kakashi fainting like an Academy fangirl. I'll get you for this, Naruto, threatened Kakashi. Kushina then looked at Hiruzen and Kakashi. I hate asking this, but all this seems too surreal to me, Hokage-sama. Do you believe Naruto? Hiruzen nodded without hesitation. He is Hashirama-sama reborn, without a doubt. That seal there was attuned more to soul than to chakra, and only Hashirama-sama could use it. There is no doubt. Kushina nodded, trying to comprehend the implications and her own chaotic feelings. It was not every parent who learned that their son had such a truly beautiful soul. Also, to convince me, he raised a massive wooden bridge from Nami to the mainland with just a single hand seal. Only Shodai-sama could ever use Mokuton with such skill and power. No genin, however talented, could do that. It is acquired through decades of experience only, said Kakashi. Kushina was stunned. She had no choice but to believe her son after what Kakashi and Hiruzen said. She stared at Naruto with mixed emotions on her face. Love for her son and reverence for his greatness. Minato's idiotic mistake had awakened a legend. Would you prefer Naruto or Hashirama when we are alone? Naruto? She asked. Call me Naruto Ka-san. I am still your son, even if I was Hashirama back then. Kushina nodded, looking relieved. It would take her a long time to get used to the reality of Senju Hashirama being born as her son. She would adapt for her son's sake. The Sandaime looked at all of them. I called all of you here primarily to discuss the matter of Orochimaru. Jiraiya, Naruto, you have to stop tailing Kabuto from here on. Our Jounin Gecko Heiate, who was tailing him yesterday, has been killed. Naruto had a sad look on his face, as did Jiraiya and Kakashi. Heiate's death was a great loss to the Jounin, as he was very talented at Kenjutsu. Jiraiya looked at Hiruzen. I assume you called me and Naruto to brief Kushina and Kakashi of our findings, sensei. In part, Jiraiya. Kakashi and Kushina are informed of the essentials of Orochimaru's involvement. They need more specifics. We also need to discuss how we are to meet Orochimaru's invasion with the limited information we have. Jiraiya nodded and turned to Kushina and Kakashi. Naruto here discovered that Orochimaru was planning to use the Edo Tensei to resurrect Hashirama and Tobirama, and use them to kill Sensei. He was unable to resurrect Hashirama, and has found a replacement for him. Kushina was first outraged that Naruto was being sent on such high-level missions at such a young age, but she remembered just who he was. He would be in no danger even if discovered. It would be hard indeed for her to curb her protective instinct as a mother. That too after seeing her son a decade later. Naruto took up the narrative. We know for certain that he will be using 2 Edo Tensei summons, and one of them will be my brother, Tobirama. It will be easy to subdue Tobirama because Orochimaru would not dare bring him back at full strength. Our only worry is the unknown summons. The Sandaime now interjected. We also know that Orochimaru is going to invade with a considerable force of Oto ninja. He will want to kill me personally, so I assume he will be present at the stadium in a disguise. We are still unable to find out what. Kakashi asked. How do we respond then, Hokage-sama? First, we cannot let anyone except the elite Jounin know of this. I have the opportunity to finish off Orochimaru once and for all, and I will take it no matter what. Orochimaru will call off the invasion if he smells too much wariness on our part. We should lay a careful trap. Jiraiya then spoke. We will have 3 teams composed entirely of ANBU, each lead by one of us. Kakashi will lead a team to respond to threats within the stadium. Kushina and I will lead teams to guard Konoha from without. The Jounin will be able to guard the village itself once the invasion happens, under Kakashi's guidance. What will Naruto be doing? Asked a worried Kushina, observing her son who looked calm and solemn. Hiruzen will be there at the stadium to deal with Orochimaru once and for all, and I will be there with him to subdue Tobirama and the unknown summons. I could always beat my brother in a fight even at his full strength, Naruto said. What of the evacuation of the children of the academy? Kakashi asked Hiruzen. We will send Jounin and Genin to oversee their evacuation. The Sandaime looked at them all. There is one last matter. Naruto, your true lineage will be announced after this whole affair is done with. Until then, please keep it under wraps as the Raikage will be visiting. He will be unsettled enough with the Red Death's presence. But knowing that her and Minato's son is still alive will be a matter of alarm for him and the nations. I know politics, Hiruzen. Did you forget who taught you its fundamentals when you were little? Asked Naruto in an amused voice. The Sandaime looked sheepish. Right, sorry, sensei. Just making sure. Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Kushina stared, amazed at this interaction. They forgot easily that Naruto used to be Hiruzen's sensei in another lifetime. I need to release the seal, Hiruzen. I am starting to feel the drain, said Naruto and released it at the nods of assent. When the room jerked back to normal, Naruto spoke to Kushina. Where will you be staying, Kasan? Will you go to the Namikaze house you and Tusan stayed in? Kushina looked regretful. That place holds too many memories for me, Naruto. I will find someplace else. You can stay with me, Kasan. Kushina looked uncertain. She wanted to stay with him. How she wanted to. But how would he feel if his mother, who left him for so long, for whatever reason, was back in his life so suddenly? You don't want to? Naruto asked, looking vulnerable. Kushina cursed herself. It is not that, Naruto-kun. I would love to stay with you, but I do not wish to impose. Naruto looked happier. There is no question of imposition within family, Kasan. They left for his apartment, a couple of blurs flashing through the air. Naruto's apartment. So this is your apartment, Naruto. Yes, Kasan. Do you like it? Kushina mused to herself as she stared at the rather untidy apartment. It could use some tidying up. Boys, all the same. Minato was just like you know. He used to Hiration all over his apartment to tidy up before our date there, she said wistfully, remembering her beloved husband. She looked at Naruto quickly and asked him the one question eating at her. Naruto, do you truly forgive me for my absence, or was it something you just said? Tell me the truth, please, son. I can handle it. Tell me the truth about what you feel about me and my actions. Naruto sighed. Look, Kasan. I have lived my life as Hashirama with little of motherly love. I have been denied that for the entire duration of my life as Naruto. I have no idea how to accept a mother's love. Kushina was near tears. She would never forgive herself for depriving him of her love as a child, no matter how good her reasons. Excuses and ironclad reasons just became dust for a mother when faced with her child's anguish. The best I had as Naruto was the old man. But you forget something. I may be a child in body, but I was the one who ended the age of warring clans and built Konoha. I am Senju Hashirama, and I have learned the misery and happiness of life a long time ago. I know all too well to keep family close and to forgive them. Kushina looked at her son with wonder blossoming again in her heart. This was Senju Hashirama speaking, the greatest ninja himself, reborn as her son. Naruto did not notice his mother's fluctuating emotions and continued speaking of feelings long buried. Even if I had no one during this childhood, I had family as Hashirama. Those memories let me lose much of my resentment for you. I may look young, but I am old. Naruto was now feeling the full import of his two lives. Kushina was just staring at her son. He was extraordinary beyond measure. She did not dare interrupt his thoughts as he seemed to be pouring his real feelings out. I know exactly how you are feeling, Kasen. I was a father too, and I can imagine how it would feel if my children were to resent me in these circumstances. So, that is why it is easy for me to forgive you. I have the perspective of a father. Naruto said to her sincerely, taking her hand. Kushina nodded tremulously. There was no other word to describe her son. Naruto was extraordinary, a gift to soothe this hate-filled world. He was precious. She would be there for him and help him with his dreams and goals, however lofty they may be. She promised herself as his mother. They stayed up late into the night, exchanging the details of their lives, getting to know each other. Naruto had someone he could truly call his family, besides his granddaughter Tsunade. He had a mother for the first time in 2 lives, and he was happy. The trees of Konoha seemed to shine benevolently and flowers began to bloom in the village. The flowers are blooming, said Jiraiya while adjusting the anti-intruder ceiling array. The Sandaime and Kakashi looked at the trees in the park and they seemed healthier. Jiraiya was right. The withering flowers of the park bloomed. Naruto whispered the third, recognition on his face. Kakashi looked at him questioningly. He is happy. It always happened during my childhood. When I learned the first Doton Jutsu he taught me, the earth wall, he was so happy that Konoha looked like Kami's garden for a month or so, said Hiruzen, the memories of his childhood lighting up his old face. Jiraiya and Kakashi listened to the story like little kids listen to Iruka at the academy. Harsh winters make the village desolate and shorn of its beauty. It happened once more when he was carrying a 2-year-old Tsunade in his arms. She was so little. He was walking to the Hokage tower. A snowflake fell on Tsunade's cheek, and she was crying, "Ajisen!" from the sudden cold. It was her first word. Hashirama-sama was crying tears of joy and the ground just thawed, responding to him and converting itself into a lawn. Spring arrived a month early in Konoha that year. I remember after that, the children used to make him happy deliberately, and flowers would bloom in Konoha. That Konoha was lost though, when he passed during the First War, finished Sarutobi. Jiraiya looked entranced by the story. Kakashi looked reverent. He has returned now, sensei. The flowers of Konoha are blooming again, said Jiraiya. Hiruzen looked around them, noting the returned beauty of the park. So they are, he said with a wide smile on his face. 15 days later. Naruto and Sasuke walked silently to Naruto's apartment. So your training is over, team? Asked Naruto, breaking the silence. Yes, thank Kami. I know you and Kakashi told me to take the remaining 2 days off to recuperate, but can I do it myself? I just want to be lazy for the next few days. Believe it or not. Naruto looked at him seriously. There is someone I want you to meet, Sasuke. Someone very important to both you and me. Sasuke looked at him quizzically but followed silently as Naruto opened the door to his apartment. Someone important to him, what did that mean? The first thing he saw when he followed Naruto into his apartment was that it was cleaner. The walls were gleaming, the books were arranged, the bedding was new. It was a different place altogether. But what shocked him even more was the beautiful woman with long red hair, whose face resembled Naruto's greatly. It was as if she was his mother. Who are you? He asked the woman. Naruto just stood to the side, watching them silently. She walked up to him silently and began introducing herself softly. "Hello, Sasuke-kun. I am Uzumaki Kushina. I am Naruto's mother and your godmother. Uchiha Mikoto was like a sister to me." Sasuke stared at Kushina with pure shock upon his face. "Where were you all this time?" It had taken them the better part of 3 hours to explain to Sasuke the story of the Namikaze family, leaving out Naruto's secret. He sat stunned at the end of it all. "So you are the heir of the Yondaime and Red Death of Konoha? No wonder you are so strong." Naruto nodded. "We were raised together for 2 months, Sasuke. Mikoto-san took care of me along with you when Ka-san was incapacitated." Sasuke's face softened considerably at this. Do you mind if I come over sometimes to talk, Kushina-san?" Sasuke asked hesitantly. Kushina hugged them both to her tightly, Sasuke squirming with discomfort at being within Naruto's proximity. "Not at all, Sasuke-kun. You are as good as a son to me." Naruto sighed with happiness as the family of 2 became 3. He knew it now. Sasuke would become more powerful than Madara in due time. Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto would bring the everlasting peace and understanding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama could not. He knew it well. Council Room, Konoha. "Greetings, Eidano," greeted the Hokage. The Raikage had arrived 2 days back and submitted a proposal on Kumo's behalf. "Greetings, Hiruzandano. Let us get down to business. What is Konoha's response to Kumo's proposal?" The council members looked at Hiruzan and nodded. Hiruzan responded, "Konoha agrees to Kumo's proposal, Raikage Dano. The non-aggression pact is accepted by us in exchange for your aid and will be valid for the next 3 years between our 2 nations." A nodded. "The formalities will be complete by tonight. Will you not stay, Adano?" asked Hiruzan, hoping he would not. The Raikage staying while they executed their trap was a complication they did not need. His hopes were answered. "I would like to, but cannot, Hiruzandano. I have a scheduled conference with the Mizukage in 5 days, so I cannot pause. I have faith in Yujito, though she is quite strong. As you say, Eidano, I hope our countries shall prosper with this newest treaty. Do not break the treaty, eh?" "I hope for that as well, Hiruzandano." "The same to you, Hiruzan." Hiruzan watched as the muscular Kage collected his brother, who was really annoying the ANBU with his so-called rap. A and B, they were strange but true brothers. It was time to make the final preparations for tomorrow's plan to work. They had polished the rough edges to the plan. They were ready to take out one of the biggest threats to the village. Naruto and Kushina ate their food in silence. They had discovered that they both shared a maniacal worship for ramen. "So, Ka-san, all these days it has been only about me. Tell me more about what you did when you left me." Kushina's face scrunched up in pain at being reminded of that. She looked down in shame. "I have clearance from the old man, if that is what you are worried about. As long as you have a good security seal array protecting us, you can tell me which you do." He continued obliviously. Kushina looked at Naruto. "No, Naruto. I will tell you, you deserve to know. Ever since I left you, I was Konoha's diplomatic envoy and of course non-official spy to Kiri. I headed our intelligence there, just as Jiraiya-sama does for the rest of the nations. We were getting disturbing reports from Kiri back then, and I was sent there to assess the situation. I managed Konoha's front there for the next 5 years, after which the Yondaime Mizukage Yagura spawned a civil war with his persecution of bloodlines." Naruto listened with rapt attention. "I don't need to tell you of the horrors of a war. You are Hashirama after all. Anyway, I was instructed to lend aid to the rebel forces as Konoha is a great supporter of bloodlines and did not want any more of them lost. Then I rescued an extremely strong jounin, Mei Terumi, who is about 6 years younger than me. Her bloodlines, lava release and boil release, make her a feared opponent. She is part Uzumaki. Naruto felt happier. The Uzumaki clan still thrived. The most resilient and long-lived clan would take more than a single war to wipe out, he thought with pride. The two of us led the bloodline faction for 3 long and bloody years of internal war. We managed to kill Yagura in the end, though. In fact, by the time I got Hiruzen's call, Mei was already the new Mizukage. Naruto nodded. His mother was a very strong kunoichi indeed. I am impressed, Ka-san. Do you think I can meet this Terumi Mei of yours? Kushina looked elated. Of course, Naruto. She used to be raving about how she wanted to meet you. We became such close friends that I even told her the truth about you being alive. Just like me and Mikoto. At least I can do this for you. You need none of my training. What do you mean? Asked Naruto, tilting his head. What can I teach Senju Hashirama? I thought of training you in the Fuinjutsu of the Uzumaki and the Kenjutsu developed by me exclusively. But I cannot have everything, I suppose, said Kushina tearfully. We can still spar together, Ka-san. I just did not bring it up because I have no wish for my first clear memories of my mother to be ones of conflict. We can spar after the finals, though. I can always learn from someone of your stature. Kushina looked happier. She suddenly brought up a topic that was very painful for Naruto. Do you like any girls, Naruto? Any academy chicks gotten into your sensory field? She asked mischievously. Naruto let his pain show, which made Kushina go silent very fast. This was something he had shoved in the deepest recesses of his mind, lest it overwhelm him. I'm so sorry, Masuko. Did I say something? Oh. She got an understanding look on her face and felt like punching herself. Hard. She always ran her mouth too much sometimes. Naruto looked her in the eyes and Kushina gasped. Those forest green eyes showed so much anguish that it froze her. He was still grieving for her? Ka-san, please avoid that topic unless you wish to cause me pain. My heart shall forever belong to Mito and her alone. I can never even think about loving another woman as long as I am alive, said Naruto. Kushina nodded mutely. She should have never brought that up. Anyway, have you been given your team yet, Ka-san? Kushina allowed the change in subject, and they dwelled upon the specifics of their roles during the invasion. Arena. Chunin exam finals. Naruto stood alongside Hiruzen disguised as ANBU, watching Sasuke and Gaara face off against each other in the first match of the finals. He reached his hand to his back and caressed the beautiful black wakizashi blade gifted to him by his mother. Felt so light strapped his back, so sharp. Sasuke had gotten one too, but he had gotten a katana. They were all ready. His mother and Jiraiya were patrolling outside Konoha with their teams. Kakashi and his team were on guard in the stadium, as were all the jounin. They had prepared as best as they could. The Kazekage came strolling towards his seat, his face covered by a veil. Naruto extended his senses to sample the Kazekage's chakra for the first time, and he was shocked. Beyond shocked. Clever, Orochimaru. Clever indeed. Orochimaru was masquerading as the Kazekage. The real Yondaime Kazekage was probably dead. He cursed. Orochimaru's plan fell into place in his head like pieces of a jigsaw. He plans to use Suna and Odo to attack us simultaneously. Suna from within and Odo from without. Good that we divided our forces evenly. Naruto watched as the Kazekage and Hiruzen greeted each other and sat on their respective seats. He bent down and whispered the truth to Hiruzen. The Sandaime's eyes widened in alarm and he whispered back in Naruto's ear. Warn Kakashi to be ready for this. Ask him to send a message to Kushina. Naruto nodded, concealed by his cat mask, and disappeared and reappeared back again after a few moments. He had sent a wood clone with a message to Kakashi. "A problem, Hokage?" inquired the Kazekage solicitously. "Just a small adjustment to today's program," Kazekage said Hiruzen lightly. "Let us enjoy the show, Kazekage. It is my prized genin versus yours after all." They watched as Gaara just gave his trademark stare of death to Sasuke. Sasuke just smiled back. This seemed to have annoyed Gaara as sand poured out of his gourd and just shot towards Sasuke. But it was not really fast enough to keep up with a Sasuke who had made such progress with Shunshin. Every time Gaara lunged for him with sand, the Uchiha disappeared and appeared elsewhere. The crowd were going bonkers as they enjoyed their beloved last Uchiha make sport of the red-headed sand using Maniac. Naruto had warned Sasuke not to use Genjutsu, though. It was of no use against Jinchuriki like Gaara, whose bijou was a psychopathic raccoon that induced fluctuations of its own in the host's chakra network constantly. Not conducive for Genjutsu. Naruto saw what Sasuke was doing, though. It was a good tactic to dodge the sand and analyze Gaara's attack pattern and jutsu with his Sharingan. If he could predict those accurately, he wouldn't even need Shunshin to dodge. The team he couldn't keep up the Shunshin use forever. It was a rather draining jutsu that consumed a lot of chakra. Chakra that Sasuke was yet to develop. It was already impressive that he used it the way he did now. Gaara's irritation showed itself at last. "Stay still, Uchiha. Mother craves your blood." Kurama snorted with amusement in Naruto's mind. The Kyuubi had been rather silent as of late, allowing its container to deal with his tumultuous life by his own. He was hardly an expert at soothing humans, so he helped the best way he knew. He shut up, and Naruto was grateful for it. Kakashi only paid minimal attention to the match as he considered Naruto's message. He had sent an ANBU to warn Kushina and Jiraiya. His ANBU were undercover as civilians, and ready to respond at a moment's notice. The Jounin with him were ready as well. Kakashi watched as Sasuke stopped flashing around, and simply waited for Gaara to attack again. He had instructed his ANBU not to interfere with the Sandaime and Naruto. To ninja like them, more help would just be a hindrance. Kushina and Jiraiya met at the East Gate, their teams on reserve. Their sensors and scouts were constantly patrolling the territory within sight of Konoha. "Kushina, did you get the message?" "Yes, Jiraiya-sensei. I worry for Naruto. He will be facing Orochimaru again so soon." Jiraiya snorted. "I wouldn't worry about the Gaki, Kushina. You know who he is." Kushina nodded, but still looked worried. "My team has found no indications of any invading Nin. What is Orochimaru up to?" "That team is unpredictable, if anything. We must be ready for anything, Kushina. You take north and east. I will take south and west." Kushina nodded in confirmation. "Hi, Jiraiya-sensei." They separated in a blur. Sasuke watched calmly as the sand shot towards him from multiple directions. He had the Jinchuriki now. He could predict how he struck and could avoid with his greatly increased physical speed. The crowd gasped, stunned, as he neatly avoided Gaara's attacks as if he knew how they would hit a year ago. Running towards Gaara, he dodged even more sand attacks gracefully, his Sharingan spinning. His speed increased as he leaped high into the air, twisting cleanly to avoid Gaara's whip of sand. He landed right in front of Gaara and unleashed a hard punch to his face, well before his shield of sand could kick in. The sand user flew back hard, hitting the walls of the arena with a crunch. A bit of sand fell off his face, revealing the skin underneath. It seemed that his armor of sand had protected him. Sasuke disappeared and appeared in front of Gaara with a fast kick, but retracted at the last second when a dome covered the sand Nin and extended spikes toward him. Not wasting a second, he appeared high upon the wall opposite Gaara and began concentrating chakra into his hand. The technique he was using could cut through anything. Naruto watched as Sasuke charged up his version of Kakashi's technique, Chidori. A sound of 1,000 birds chirping filled the air as blue lightning crackled in Sasuke's hand. The young Uchiha charged fast and hard at Gaara, causing the Sunagenin to extend those sand spikes at him. The Sharingan was too formidable, though, and allowed Sasuke to dodge the spikes and plunge his Chidori right through Gaara's so-called ultimate defense. A horrible scream filled the air as the sphere of sand encasing Gaara blew apart, revealing Sasuke with his hand right through Gaara's shoulder, near his heart. "No!" screamed Gaara's siblings. Naruto wasn't too concerned, though. A Jinchuriki would not die so easily. Sasuke pulled out his hand, spattering the blood of his opponent. Sure enough, Gaara's wound began to steam and close up. Soon it was fully healed. The red-haired Jinchuriki looked furious beyond description. "Blood! My blood! I will kill you all!" he roared. Sasuke looked at him, wary of his bloodlust. The crowd seemed stunned. Naruto observed Orochimaru as he sat by the edge of his seat waiting for something to happen. Gaara was obscured by a huge pillar of sand, blowing Sasuke away. Orochimaru signaled to someone, and Naruto could feel genjutsu being cast on the entire stadium, feathers falling everywhere. He and Hiruzen were abruptly enclosed along with Orochimaru by some sort of barrier that reached up high and had 2 layers. It was held by what looked like ridiculous teens, who situated themselves within the layers of the barrier. It had begun. The crowds were falling asleep, but Kakashi's team and the Jounin had dispelled the illusion. Kakashi and his team spread throughout the stadium, taking out the sand ninja mercilessly. The Konoha Jounin led their genin out efficiently to help in the protection of the village. Temari and Kankuro were out fast, but Sasuke pursued them on orders from Shiranui Ganma, the proctor who engaged the sensei of Gaara, Baki. Things were taking place too fast. Tanuki Nairi no Jutsu. Came the shout from within the sand pillar. The sand dispersed, revealing the huge form of the one-tailed Bijou, Shikaku. "I'm back!" roared the funky Bijou. Gaara had released the sand demon at last. The Kazekage flew back, pulling off his veil. "Hello, Sarutobi-sensei and Naruto-kun," said the now revealed Snake Sannin. "Orochimaru, my foolish student. You are really stupid to fight me here and now." "I wouldn't say that, Sarutobi-sensei. Look at Gaara, would you? What do you think will happen if Konoha takes a full on Bijudama?" he asked with glee. Naruto and Hiruzen looked at Gaara, their eyes blazing. Orochimaru signaled, and another barrier separated the two from him, protecting him while he summoned. He slammed his palms together. "Kuchios, Edo Tensei." 2 coffins began to rise out of space-time rips in the ground. Hiruzen watched silently, as he knew Naruto would hold the Shikaku off till help arrived. Then they could deal with Orochimaru and his summons. Naruto flared his chakra and watched the Shikaku as it turned its attention to the battle on the roof. "You are the one annoying me. I found someone to kill," yelled the Bijou, and opened its mouth, gathering enormous chakra. Dimly Naruto noted Orochimaru completing the Edo Tensei. Just a little more time for her to show up. Yujito could conceal herself, but Matatabi could not conceal herself from Kurama. "Kurama, is Matatabi here yet?" "Yeah. I can feel her Jinchuriki changing into the tailed state. You will have to hold off that Bijudama Shikaku has aimed at you before she deals with the raccoon." Naruto nodded. Shikaku's strength had nothing on Kurama. He bit his finger and began his summoning. Kuchios, Sanju Rashuman. The tailed beast bomb of Shikaku exploded towards the podium in a hail of destruction, but was intercepted by 3 demonic gates, and a blinding explosion ensued. Orochimaru was impressed. To summon the Rashuman at such an age was a daunting prospect. When the air cleared, Shikaku was facing another Bijou. The 2-tailed Hellcat, nearby. Yujido had come through, Naruto thought with relief. Hiruzen had made a really good deal with that rakeage. Naruto had to act fast to keep the village from being destroyed. He had to contain the Bijou within the stadium and conserve his strength for Orochimaru's summons, which were nearly out. Mokuton, Yokusei no Mokusei Yankyo. Massive wooden pillars arched from the edges of the arena to confine the 2 Bijou in a huge hemisphere of wood. The stadium and city were safe for a while. Naruto turned to Hiruzen. It is done, Hiruzen. Shikaku will be defeated by Matatabi before he breaks out of sphere. Oh, and hello again, Orochimaru. Orochimaru was looking at Naruto with absolute amazement on his face. Mokutan. Well, no matter. Meet your former teachers again, sensei. The coffin's door fell, revealing 2 figures. Senju Tobarama and Uzumaki Mito. Sound ninja were pouring into Konoha territory in a concentrated assault on the east side, about 200 of them. A massive snake appeared with them, going straight for the gates. Katan, Guryuka no Jutsu, yelled Kushina, breathing out a huge dragon of fire. The snake was completely swallowed by the fire dragon and was vaporized. Kushina's team nodded appreciatively. Team, engage the sound ninja. We cannot let them enter Konoha. Let's go. Kuchiyose no Jutsu. There was a large puff of smoke, and Jiraiya stood upon the toad boss, Gamabunta, facing the huge snake and the Odo ninja attacking them. No time for whining. Give me oil bunta. The boss toad looked annoyed, but did as he was told. Katan, Gameu Enden. The stream of fire from Jiraiya ignited the torrent of oil spewing out of Gamabunta's mouth, creating a massive conflagration of fire. The snake summons was done for, but the Odo ninja defended themselves well. Suetun, Suijin Hiki, roared 20 Odo ninja, neutralizing Jiraiya's attack with a collective water wall. They charged in formation and were engaged by Jiraiya's team in front of Konoha's south gate. The battle was joined. Kakashi and his team moved through the village, encountering the sand ninja within and neutralizing them. It was a brilliant plan they had devised. The hunters were now the hunted. Kakashi Taicho, that is Jiraiya-sama's summon, meaning he should be facing a considerable force. Do we assist? Questioned Yuzuki Yugugo urgently. No. Jiraiya-sama and Kushina-san need no assistance. The 2 of them are powerful enough to defeat entire battalions, but their wide-range jutsu will cause us collateral damage, which is why they are holding back. They can take care of themselves and their teams. His own team nodded. What is the status of the fight in the stadium? Questioned Kakashi. Naruto-san has confined Ichibi and nearby Jinchuriki with Mokutan, said Tenzo, hardly able to believe it, but continued. He and Hiruzen-sama are currently fighting Orochimaru and what looks to be the Yondaime Hokage and Uzumaki Mito. Kakashi was extremely concerned for Naruto. If there was any way to thoroughly upset him, this was it. But he had his orders and he had to defend the village. Thank you, Tenzo. Leave your wood clone right where it is to give us direct updates. Since most of the Sunanin are taken care of, we will stand by as a reserve and help where we can, inside the village. He added pointedly. Hi, Taijo. Naruto stared at the forms of his brother and wife with tears in his eyes. Tobirama looked just the way he remembered. Blue armor, long spiky white hair. That head guard he had liked so much. He was barely holding himself together as he saw his dead little brother in the world again. But when his eyes alighted upon his wife, the tears suddenly started falling. Fuinjutsu tags as her ear ornaments, white kimono and looking like an angel. He had forgotten how beautiful she was. Hiruzen was not looking at his former superiors, but at Naruto. The pain this reunion must be causing him. This would bring out the secrets Orochimaru did not need to know. He had to deal with Orochimaru as Naruto dealt with his reanimated family. The barrier between the adversaries dissolved, but the one confining them on the podium remained, held by the 4 Oto ninja. Orochimaru looked intrigued by Naruto's reaction to his summons. Something did not add up here. He walked to Mito and Tobirama and thrust kunai with Fuinjutsu tags into their heads. Their bodies started steaming, and they began to gain the complexion they had possessed in their prime. Tobirama and Mito looked up and saw their two opponents. "Saru, you have grown old," said Tobirama dispassionately. "Hiruzen-chan, you seem like an ancient monkey. I seem to remember you telling me as a little boy that you would never become older than 12 years. Mito laughed happily. Naruto's heart quickened at hearing his wife laugh again. He couldn't even speak, looking at her. Then it struck him. "Orochimaru, you idiot." Naruto shook his head pityingly. Mito glanced at him, as did Tobirama. "Who are you, youngster?" Tobirama asked in a stern voice. Naruto was incensed, his little brother calling him little. Orochimaru was watching the byplay interestedly. Naruto flared his chakra considerably, and the tiles of the roof were cracking and floating away in pieces. Hiruzen and Orochimaru were doing the same, but were drowned by Naruto's strength. "Enough conversation, old people. Kill the boy, Mito-san." Tobirama. "Attack the old man. Konoha will burn under my hand." But nothing happened. Tobirama and Mito were staring at Naruto, their eyes wide. "You have the same chakra as my brother, boy. How is that possible?" asked Tobirama. Mito was staring at him amazed. Naruto sighed. She had still not deduced the truth. A fight such as this was no place for a reunion such as theirs, no matter how much he wished it. What is happening? "Kill them!" screamed Orochimaru, who was looking frantic. Mito looked at Orochimaru with an intrigued look on her face. "So, you are the one who brought me back with Edo Tensei. You brought me back at full strength, while you suppressed Tobirama's. Youngster, you underestimate the wrong people," said Mito, shaking her head. A dense gray chakra was rolling off her, causing ripples in the air. "Bringing me back was foolish if you wanted me to attack Konoha. You did well to shut Tobirama's emotions, but leaving me with complete control of mine was your last mistake." The kunai in Mito floated back out and was crushed into smithereens. Naruto's chakra was saturating the air in a terrible joy as he watched his wife cast off Orochimaru's weak bindings. Hiruzen was watching disbelievingly. He had no idea of Mito-sama's strength. Orochimaru was looking very disturbed at this unexpected turn in events, and he held up a half-ram seal. Tobirama walked forward as if he were on strings and ran at Hiruzen, while Orochimaru was trying to get Mito back under his control, cursing all the while. "Hiruzen, hold off Tobirama, will you? I will deal with Mito and that foolish student of yours." Hiruzen nodded and disappeared, meeting the Naidame for a fierce bout of taijutsu in the air. Naruto stared at Mito, who was making various hand seals. Fast. He recognized this technique well. It was incomplete. He had made her promise never to use it again because of the consequences. Why was she? Fuinjutsu. Hunsuina Sekai no Kayo. Liberation of the pure world. the counter she had devised when Tobirama had made Edo Tensei. Only she understood enough to use it. It was so impossibly complex that not even Tobirama could understand the seals. Orochimaru watched open-mouthed as Mito not only threw off his binding like it was nothing, but was actually returning to the living world. He had miscalculated terribly. Mito's body, which had seemed unnatural and otherworldly, was changing. She got color back in her cheeks and the spark of life returned to her eyes. Naruto was thanking Kami with every fiber of his body. His wife was somehow inexplicably returned to him. How could that technique have this effect? How? Sputtered Orochimaru. Mito took in her first breath again, an expression of joy upon her face. Hashirama-kun made me promise never to research this technique further, as its price was death. It is an incomplete counter to Edo Tensei, and its price for bringing back a soul from the pure world is death for the caster. Orochimaru had a look of comprehension upon his face. I have to thank you for bringing me back in the prime of my youth, youngster. When I used the liberation of the pure world, my soul which was between worlds suffered what might be called a reverse death, bringing me back from the pure world to here. It is a matter of balance. Orochimaru turned to the Sound Four with absolute frustration upon his face. Release the barrier and be ready to run. The invasion is not going as expected. Orochimaru-sama. The four looked uncertain. Naruto watched them with interest, which was counterintuitive. Why would they want to stay in a fight they would die in? Hiruzen sent a large torrent of white-hot fire at Tobirama, who easily stopped it with water. At the same time, the dome of wood holding both Jinchuriki exploded, revealing two figures upon the ground. Yujito was Naruto appeared beside Mito, shelving his high emotions. He had to deal with Orochimaru first and only then reunite with Mito. Well, Orochimaru, your ninja cannot release the barrier. Your work, I presume, Mito-chan? Mito was puzzled at being addressed so affectionately. There was something very familiar about the blonde, besides his possession of Hashirama's chakra and bloodline, something that made her heart beat faster. She looked at Orochimaru. Indeed. Do you think I would let you leave so easily, youngster? I don't take kindly to people who try to destroy my husband's legacy. Orochimaru looked like a cornered animal. You are truly powerful, Mito-san. Hiruzen appeared alongside Naruto and Mito, looking at them as if all his dreams were come true. I need to face Orochimaru myself, Naruto. Naruto sighed. Can you handle him and Tobirama together? Yes, Tobirama-sensei is not at full strength. Leave things here to me. Naruto nodded. Tell Tobirama nothing. I don't want him to be in turmoil. Hiruzen nodded. The Sound Four looked like caged rats. Orochimaru's anger was palpable. Naruto turned to Mito. Come, Mito-chan. Let me explain to you how I am the exact same as your husband on the way. Konoha needs our assistance. You can get through the barrier, I assume. Mito nodded. Easily. Naruto extended his hand to her and Mito took it. Mito's Fuinjutsu ornaments glowed and the couple just flashed through the barrier as if it didn't exist. Hiruzen turned to Orochimaru and Tobirama, preparing himself to correct the mistake he had made a decade ago. Jiraiya and Kushina met at the south gate, looking worse for the wear. Their teams had managed to completely eradicate the invading Sound Ninja. Jiraiya-sensei, we have several wounded on our team. Can you lend us more medics? Jiraiya nodded, ordering his medics to heal Kushina's wounded. The battle had extremely fierce, but their plan had been good enough to grant them victory. Of course, having S-class ninja lead the defenders never hurt. How do you think Naruto is doing? Kushina asked. He will be fine. He has regained a considerable portion of his old strength, and you know that is no laughing matter. Kushina seemed relieved with Jiraiya's reassurances. They watched as their teams recuperated from the fierce battle. They could not re-enter Konoha till Orochimaru was dealt with. The village's perimeter had to be guarded till then. A young Konoha ninja suddenly appeared in front of the two S-class ninja, kunai piercing him all over his body. Kushina and Jiraiya appeared to steady him, yelling for medics. Jiraiya looked at the Chunin urgently. "You are a border patrol ninja, aren't you? What happened?" The ninja gasped out, "IWA. It was IWA. About 2000. White explosion. Dust everywhere. Border guard overwhelmed. The medics were arriving." Kushina looked stunned, and Jiraiya shook the border patrol Chunin, trying to keep him conscious. "Hey kid, answer me. How far away are they?" "Half hour." Before he could ask any more questions, the medics came and dragged the boy away to be healed. Jiraiya looked at Kushina with apprehension on his face, which was mirrored by her. "Of all the times for IWA to turn on us. No matter. We have little time for healing, Kushina. We have to reorganize the defense and hold till our reinforcements get here. Send a message for them." Kushina looked determined and a little afraid. Not for herself or Jiraiya. They could survive. She was afraid that her team of ANBU, none of them tested in an open battle, would die. They were already weakened by the sound ninja. "Hi, Jiraiya-sensei." By the boy's description, it seems as if Inoki the fence-sitter himself is leading the IWA shinobi. "It will need both of us to stop him from massacring Konoha." Jiraiya nodded. They would be lucky to leave alive.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.